Taehyung's fingers trembled as he held the phone, staring at Jungkook's name blinking on the screen. 4 days. 4 days since the fight backstage, a fight nobody else knew about, a fight that had ended not with words, but with a silence so loud it pressed down on every memory they had built together. He swallowed hard, the storm outside his apartment window pounding against the glass like it knew the chaos inside him, like it wanted to wash away the mess of his thoughts. Rain drenched his hoodie as he sank onto the edge of the couch, shoulders hunched, phone pressed too tightly to his ear. Finally, he heard Jungkook's voice, sharp and brittle, cutting through the quiet. "You really think calling me now will fix anything?" The words struck like ice shards. Taehyung's breath caught. His hands shook, and the phone felt impossibly heavy, as if the device itself was weighed down by the tension and the unsaid words between them. I didn't mean what I said that night," Taehyung whispered, voice fraying, barely audible over the rain. He wanted to say more. He wanted to pour everything out, the guilt, the fear, the loneliness. He wanted to say, "I miss you. I'm sorry. I'm breaking without you." But instead, only the smallest fragment made it past his lips, and it felt like a betrayal to the enormity of what had just happened. A pause stretched over the line, thick and suffocating. He could hear Jungkook's breathing, steady but distant, like the other boy was somewhere unreachable, wrapped in walls Taehyung had once promised to never touch. "You said I was a mistake," Jungkook finally said, low, cracking. The words landed in Taehyung's chest like a hammer. "No, you said it first," he stammered, voice breaking. He closed his eyes, remembering the hallway, the shouted threats, the words neither of them could take back. I was scared. I panicked. I didn't know what else to do when you said you might leave Korea, when you said maybe the group should take a break. And I called you a mistake back. I regret it every second." The silence on the line was deafening. Taehyung's knuckles turned white as he gripped the phone, sweat and rain soaking into the fabric of his hoodie. Do you understand what that did to me?" Jungkook's voice was soft now, still heavy but not explosive. "I thought what we had was real. I thought you were the one person who would never—" He stopped himself, voice faltering. "I know," Taehyung breathed, tears finally breaking free, sliding down his cheeks unchecked. He hadn't realized until that moment just how much he'd been holding it all in, how much he had let fear and shame keep him silent. "I hate myself for saying it. I never hated anything more." Another pause. The storm outside became a mirror of the storm inside, relentless, violent, unyielding. "You're selfish," Jungkook finally said. Not angry, not cruel, but heavy. A weight Taehyung felt in every nerve. "You're calling me now after tearing me apart in that dark hallway, not because you love me, not because you're worried about me, just because you feel guilty." "That's not true," Taehyung choked, his voice raw. "Then prove it. Come here. If you meant anything you just said, you'll stop crying into your phone and show me you care while I'm still here." Taehyung froze, but I promised I wouldn't go near him again, he thought. He could feel his knees trembling, heart racing as if it might burst from his chest. The line went dead, and in that silence the weight of the world hit him. The storm outside was nothing compared to the one roaring in his chest. The phone slipped from his fingers, landing on the wet carpet. And for the first time in years, he didn't just cry. He shattered, folding into himself like the world had been torn away and left him raw and exposed. He reached for the necklace around his neck, the one he hadn't taken off since their last anniversary, but his fingers hovered, trembling. He wasn't ready. Not until he could face Jungkook without crumbling entirely. Not until he had the courage to step back into the world where his voice and his heart might be torn open again. When he finally left his apartment, rain soaking through his shoes and dripping from his hair, he ran. Each step pounded in time with the fury and fear in his chest, until the studio building appeared ahead, lights spilling through the windows. His fingers twitched, throat raw, lungs burning, not from the cold, not from the rain, but from the ache of absence, the ache of not hearing Jungkook, of not being heard. "I ran," he whispered when Jungkook finally opened the door, voice barely a thread. "I didn't stop. I had to come." Jungkook didn't move. His arms were crossed, face hidden in shadows, jaw tight. "You came to ease your guilt?" he asked, voice low, almost sharp. "I came because I need you," Taehyung said, voice breaking further. "I'm losing myself not talking to you." The studio was heavy with silence, memories clinging to every corner. Taehyung remembered the nights they stayed up until sunrise, writing lyrics no one would ever hear. The couch where he had fallen asleep with Jungkook playing with his hair. Every laugh, every whispered word, every tender touch now tainted with fear. "I never meant to say what I said," Taehyung whispered, moving closer, voice fraying. "You said it anyway," Jungkook snapped, stepping forward, face dark with emotion. "You looked me in the eye and said I was just a phase, a mistake." "I didn't mean it," Taehyung cried, voice cracking. "I was scared. I didn't want to be left broken again. I thought I'd hurt less if I walked away first." Jungkook froze in his grasp, eyes wide, voice breaking. "It didn't hurt less, it destroyed me." Taehyung's hands fell, useless against the torrent of emotions. I know," he whispered, "and I regret it every second." Jungkook stepped back, brushing his hand through his hair. "I can't just forget it. You said it like you meant it." "I was protecting myself," Taehyung interrupted, desperation raw. "I didn't want to be left broken again like last time." "Last time?" Jungkook's voice was sharp. "You don't remember. 3 years ago, after Japan. You told me you were in love with someone else," Taehyung murmured, voice soft, haunted. Jungkook went still. I was drunk, I don't even remember." "Because I forgave you," Taehyung said, trembling. "Because I loved you more than I hated what you said, but I never forgot." A fragile silence settled, storm outside beginning to fade, but the storm inside them still raged. They both knew in that silence that nothing would ever be the same. And yet Taehyung took a step closer, hands trembling, heart raw and exposed, because for the first time in days he felt the possibility of something fragile, something real waiting to be reclaimed. Taehyung's heart pounded so loudly he thought Jungkook might hear it through the silence between them. The studio smelled faintly of coffee and worn wood, the lights warm but too bright for the heaviness in the room. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the space between them, but every step forward felt like walking through fire. He wanted to scream, to throw himself into Jungkook's arms, but he didn't. Instead, he breathed, deep and uneven, forcing the calm that was nowhere near him. You still want me here?" Jungkook finally asked, voice low, cautious, almost fragile. His eyes, usually sharp with mischief or warmth, now looked like glass, beautiful but dangerously easy to shatter. Taehyung swallowed, throat dry, words sticking like glue. I need you," he whispered. "I don't want to fight anymore. I can't stand it. I can't lose you like this." For a long moment, Jungkook didn't move. He just stared as though weighing every word, every breath. Taehyung could feel the pulse of his own fear, mirrored back in Jungkook's unreadable gaze. He stepped closer, hands trembling at his sides. The distance between them, though only a few feet, felt like a chasm filled with memories, anger, and all the unspoken feelings they'd both tried to bury. "I was hurt, Jungkook finally said, voice breaking. I thought you didn't care. I thought maybe I was nothing to you." And hearing those words, it wasn't just about the fight. It was like you had rewritten every good memory we had into lies. Taehyung's chest constricted. The tears he had tried to hold back began to spill again. I was scared," he admitted, voice trembling. "I thought if I said those words first, I'd be the one in control, but I was broken too, and I'm sorry, I never wanted to make you feel worthless." Jungkook's hands fell to his sides, clenching and unclenching as he tried to process Taehyung's confession. "You don't understand," he murmured. "I can forgive a lot of things, but words like that, they echo, they stay. And now, I don't know if I can ever hear them again without remembering the pain." Taehyung's body shuddered. He felt as though someone had ripped his chest open, leaving every raw, vulnerable piece of himself exposed. "I know," he whispered, almost too quietly. "I know, And I will spend every second making it up to you, proving I never meant it. I don't care how long it takes. I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. Jungkook's eyes softened just slightly, the walls around his heart cracking ever so faintly. You always say that, he said, voice trembling. But it's not words I need. It's actions. It's seeing that you mean it in every little thing you do. Taehyung nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. I'll show you, he said. I'll prove it every day with everything I am. Just please don't walk away from me yet. The silence that followed was heavy but different now, less bitter, less sharp. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something fragile, something like hope. Taehyung felt his heart still racing, but for the first time in days, it was a flicker of something warm, not just fear. Jungkook's voice finally broke the quiet, softer now, almost a whisper. T, you're crying again. Taehyung reached up, wiping his tears roughly with the back of his hand. I can't help it, he admitted. You don't understand, I've missed you more than I ever thought possible. And hearing your voice, even like this, it's like the world stops just for a second and I can breathe again. Jungkook stepped forward slightly, cautiously, his own emotions threatening to surface. You really mean that? He asked. His voice was cracking, vulnerable, the armor he always wore slipping just enough for Taehyung to see the boy beneath the idle mask, the boy who had laughed with him, fought with him, loved him in ways the world would never understand. I mean it, Taehyung said, voice breaking. Every word, every single word. I can't imagine a day without you, Kook. I just need you to know that. For a moment it felt as if the entire world had narrowed to the space between them, the storm outside forgotten, replaced by the storm of emotions in the room. Jungkook's gaze softened further, tears glistening in his eyes now too. I don't know if I can just forget, he murmured. But I hear you, and that means something. Taehyung took another step closer, almost instinctively, heart pounding so hard he thought it might burst. That's all I need, he whispered. Just hearing that you're still here, even if a little bit, is everything to me. Jungkook's eyes flickered away for a moment, then back at Taehyung. I'm scared, T, he admitted, voice low. I'm scared we'll keep hurting each other. I'm scared the next fight, the next word, will be the one we can't come back from. Taehyung's hands trembled as he reached out, finally closing the distance, fingertips brushing against Jungkook's arm. We'll figure it out together, he said. I promise. We'll talk. We'll cry. We'll fight if we have to, but we won't let go, not this time. Jungkook's breath hitched, and for a moment Taehyung thought he might pull away. But instead, Jungkook's hand covered Taehyung's, a fragile but deliberate gesture. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't healed, but it was a start. A sign that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. I want to believe that, Jungkook whispered, voice cracking with raw emotion. I want to try. Taehyung's chest swelled with emotion. Relief, fear, love, and regret all mingled into a single, overwhelming wave that made his knees weak. We will, he said. I swear we will. I don't care how long it takes. I need you. Jungkook's eyes softened further, tears streaming now, glistening in the warm studio light. I need you too, he admitted, voice trembling. Even if it scares me, even if it hurts, I need you. Taehyung's lips quivered as he fought back sobs, the weight of the past days, the past years, finally crashing down. Then we stay, he whispered. Together. We fight, we cry, we love, but we stay. A shaky, fragile smile formed on Jungkook's lips. Okay, he said. We stay. For the first time in days, Taehyung felt something lift from his chest. Not all of it, not yet, but enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to hope. Enough to believe that maybe, somehow, love could survive the mistakes, survive the anger, survive the fear. Enough to let the tears fall freely, knowing they were shared, not endured alone. The storm outside began to calm, the rain slowing, the thunder retreating. And inside that small studio, two hearts, once fractured, now trembling, found each other again, one fragile connection at a time, one whispered promise at a time. The studio grew quiet after that fragile acknowledgement, but it wasn't an emptiness. It was a pause, a space where something new could begin. Taehyung stayed where he was, his hand still lightly resting against Jungkook, feeling the tremble of his friend's fingers. It was small, almost imperceptible, but to Taehyung it was monumental. This touch was a bridge, a sign that despite all the pain, all the harsh words, all the nights spent awake imagining what it would be like if they never spoke again, they weren't broken beyond repair. "I don't know why we fight like this," Jungkook admitted softly, voice barely above a whisper. "I don't even remember what it started over half the time, but every time it leaves me feeling like I could lose you forever." Taehyung closed his eyes for a moment, swallowing the lump in his throat. "Because we care too much," he said finally. "We care too much about each other to just let things go. But that's not an excuse. I should have been better. I should have listened instead of letting my pride, my stupid pride, get in the way." Jungkook's grip on his hand tightened ever so slightly, a sign that he was listening, that he understood. "And I should have trusted you more," he said. "I let my fear of being hurt make me push you away. I thought if I pushed you first it would hurt less. But it doesn't. It never does." Taehyung opened his eyes, seeing the raw, honest vulnerability in Jungkook's gaze. He took a deep breath, steadying himself against the rush of emotion threatening to drown him. "I can't promise we'll never fight again," he admitted. "I can't. But I can promise that I'll never let a fight make me forget how much you mean to me. I'll never let a single word I say push you away for good." Jungkook exhaled slowly, leaning against the wall behind him, as if the act of breathing itself was heavy. "I want to believe that," he murmured. "I really do. But what if we hurt each other again?" Taehyung's voice softened, almost breaking. "Then we fight through it. We talk, we cry, we scream if we have to, but we don't give up, not on us, not on this." He gestured vaguely to the space between them, but it wasn't just the room. It was everything they had shared, everything they had fought for, every memory, every laugh, every quiet moment in the dark that had led them here. "I don't care how many times it takes. I'll find my way back to you every single time." For a long moment, Jungkook didn't respond. He simply let the words settle, letting the weight of them sink in. Then slowly he nodded. "Okay," he said finally. "We try again. But I need honesty, every time. No more walls, no more pretending. I can't do this half-heartedly." Taehyung's heart leapt, a mixture of relief and gratitude flooding through him. "Every time," he promised. "I swear, no walls, no hiding, just us, whatever that means, whatever we have to face." Jungkook finally let out a shaky laugh, the tension breaking slightly. "You sound like a drama series," he teased, but the smile tugging at his lips was genuine, softening the sharp edges of the day's pain. "I hope we don't get written into a tragedy." Taehyung laughed too, a soft, trembling sound. "No tragedies," he said firmly. "Not us. We write our own ending, and it's not going to be sad, not if I can help it." The room felt lighter now, though the storm outside hadn't completely passed. Taehyung could hear the rain still tapping against the windows, the occasional rumble of thunder far away. But inside there was warmth, a fragile, flickering light that seemed to pulse with the rhythm of their hearts. It wasn't perfect, not yet, but it was theirs. "I missed this," Jungkook admitted quietly, eyes soft. "I missed you, all of you. Even when we fight, even when I hate myself for saying things I shouldn't, I can't stop caring. About you, about us." Taehyung's throat tightened. He wanted to reach out, to hold Jungkook, to tell him everything he had felt for days, weeks, months. But words felt insufficient now. Instead, he simply stepped closer, their shoulders brushing, the smallest of gestures. And it felt like the beginning of everything healing. "You can't stop," Taehyung whispered. "Because I won't let you. I need us. And I'll fight for this for you every single day, even if it scares me, even if I cry, even if I fail." Jungkook's gaze met his, steady now, more open than it had been in days. I don't want to lose this. Not again," he said. "I don't want to lose you. I'll try. But T, you have to know I'm fragile. Right now I'm fragile and I can't promise I won't crumble again. Taehyung reached up, gently touching Jungkook's cheek, thumb brushing against the faint line of a tear. I know, he said softly. And it's okay. I'll be here every time. I'll catch you. I'll hold you. I'll be whatever you need me to be. Just don't give up on me. Please don't ever give up on me. Jungkook's eyes glistened with tears now, his lips trembling as he fought to maintain composure. I won't, he whispered. I'll try because you matter too much for me to walk away, even when it hurts. Taehyung felt a wave of emotion so powerful he could barely breathe. Relief, love, regret, hope, all crashing together into a single, overwhelming sensation. That's all I needed to hear, he said, voice breaking. Just that, that's enough. We can start again. Right now, here, together. Jungkook nodded slowly, cautiously, letting the warmth of Taehyung's hand linger. Together, he repeated, a small, fragile smile forming. Even if it's scary, even if it hurts, together. And for the first time in days, maybe weeks, maybe months, Taehyung allowed himself to truly breathe, to truly feel. The fight hadn't disappeared, the fear hadn't vanished, but in that moment, with Jungkook's hand in his, the world seemed a little less heavy, a little more manageable, a little like home. He let the tears fall freely now, and Jungkook didn't move away. He simply stayed, a quiet presence, a steady anchor in the storm, and that was enough. That was everything. The night stretched on, silent but full, and in that silence they didn't need words. They just needed each other. A glance, a touch, a shared breath, a promise that no matter how many fights, no matter how many storms, they would always find their way back. And so they stayed there, side by side, fragile but unbroken, letting the night wrap around them, letting the quiet be a balm to the wounds they both carried, letting hope creep back into the spaces where doubt had once ruled. Taehyung sank into the quiet of his room after hanging up the call, the phone still warm in his hand as if it carried some of Jungkook's presence with it. The walls felt smaller now, not oppressive but intimate, echoing the way his heart was racing and aching at the same time. He stared at the ceiling, letting the weight of the conversation press down on him, feeling every word, every pause, every tremor in Jungkook's voice that mirrored his own fragile state. For days, he had walked around feeling hollow, angry, sad, and confused. But now, after hearing Jungkook's voice break and his own apology accepted, something inside him shifted. It was terrifying and comforting all at once, like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing that jumping might not be the end. The silence after the call was thick, yet alive, buzzing with the tension of unsaid things. Taehyung traced the outline of the phone in his hand, his fingers trembling slightly as tears threatened to spill over. He remembered every fight, the shouting, the slammed doors, the nights spent staring at a dark ceiling wondering if this was the last argument they'd ever have. And yet, despite all that, Jungkook had called back. He had spoken, really spoken, and that vulnerability had opened a door Taehyung thought had long been sealed. He leaned back against the headboard, pulling his knees to his chest, and let himself remember. He remembered the laughter that had come so easily between them, the late-night conversations about everything and nothing, the warmth of Jungkook's hand when the world felt too cold. He remembered the shared glances during rehearsals, the subtle brush of shoulders, the way Jungkook's smile could light up a room, how it had lit up his life even on the darkest days. Those memories weren't just comforting. They were fuel, a reminder that even in moments of anger and heartbreak, the bond they shared was undeniable. A knock at the door startled him. He wiped at his eyes quickly, trying to compose himself, though he wasn't expecting anyone. "Come in," he called softly. The door creaked open and his roommate peeked in, a concerned expression on his face. "Everything okay?" Taehyung managed a small, wobbly smile. "Yeah, I think it's okay now." He gestured to the phone, still in his hand. "We talked." His roommate stepped in, shutting the door gently behind him. "Good," he said simply. "I know how much that fight was weighing on you. You seemed off these past few days." Taehyung admitted. But hearing him call me back, it's like, I don't know, like the weight isn't gone, but maybe I can carry it now. His roommate nodded, understanding in his eyes. Sometimes that's all we need. Someone to hear us, really hear us. Sounds like he did that for you. Taehyung nodded slowly, the emotions surging again. Yeah, he did. And I told him everything. How scared I was, how much it hurt. And he said he's scared too, but he wants to try again. That's all I wanted to hear. The room felt warmer now, not just because of the words, but because of the shift inside him. The storm hadn't ended. The tension, the fear of another fight, the lingering doubts, they were all still there. But for the first time, he felt the glimmer of hope, fragile and delicate, threading its way through the darkness. He picked up the phone again, scrolling through the messages Jungkook had sent while he was thinking. Simple words, short sentences, but each one carried a weight that made Taehyung's chest tighten. I'm sorry for being stubborn. I'm scared too. Let's not give up on this. Reading those words, he felt a warmth spread through him, a reassurance that no matter the storm, they could navigate it together. The tears he had been holding back began to spill freely, and he didn't try to stop them. They were tears of relief, of love, of the recognition that sometimes the people we care about most can hurt us the most, but also heal us in ways no one else can. He put the phone down, letting it rest on the nightstand, and buried his face in his hands. The silence returned, but it was no longer oppressive. It was the quiet after the storm, the calm that hinted at the possibility of tomorrow. He imagined Jungkook in his own room, likely doing the same, thinking about the conversation they just had, feeling the same mix of fear and hope. And in that shared solitude, Taehyung realized that this was their connection, raw and imperfect, and it was enough. Hours passed and the night deepened. The rain outside softened to a gentle patter, each drop a reminder that even the heaviest storms eventually end. Taehyung remained on his bed, wrapped in the cocoon of his thoughts, reflecting on the fight, the call, and the fragile peace they had just begun to build. He knew the road ahead would be filled with more arguments, more fears, perhaps more tears, but he also knew that the foundation had been reset. There was honesty now, a transparency that was both frightening and liberating. He finally rose, moving to the window, looking out at the city lights blurred by the rain. Somewhere out there, Jungkook was looking at a similar view, maybe feeling the same cocktail of emotions. Taehyung's heart swelled at the thought. He didn't want to take this fragile reconciliation for granted. He wanted to nurture it, to protect it, to make sure that neither of them lost what they had fought so hard to preserve. Sitting by the window, Taehyung whispered to himself, "We'll be okay, we have to be." And for the first time in what felt like forever, he believed it. He believed in their connection, in their ability to overcome the fights, the misunderstandings, and the moments of despair. Because at the core, beneath all the anger and hurt, there was something stronger, something worth fighting for. And in that quiet room, with the rain falling gently outside and the night wrapping the city in its embrace, Taehyung allowed himself to hope, to dream, to imagine a future where the fights didn't define them, but the love and trust they rebuilt did. He allowed himself to feel every emotion without restraint, grief, relief, longing, love, because he knew that in embracing it all, he could finally find the peace he had been searching for. He closed his eyes, letting the tears come, letting the emotions flow freely, and whispered once more, "We'll make it, I promise." And somewhere across the city, he imagined Jungkook doing the same, holding onto the same promise, the same fragile hope, the same determination to keep trying, no matter how many storms came their way. The night stretched on, silent but full of meaning, a testament to the power of honesty, vulnerability, and the courage to call and speak from the heart. It was not the end of their story. It was a new chapter, raw, emotional, and infinitely human. And for Taehyung, that was enough. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains, casting a soft glow across Taehyung's room. He stirred awake slowly, the remnants of last night's tears still clinging to his cheeks, his heart beating with a mixture of heaviness and hope. The world outside was waking up, the city humming with life, but inside, Taehyung felt suspended in a fragile bubble of introspection. He picked up his phone again, almost instinctively, checking for messages. There it was, an unread message from Jungkook. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. The text was simple, yet it carried a weight that made his chest tighten. "I've been thinking about last night. I want to see you. Can we meet?" Taehyung's heart skipped. The invitation wasn't just about meeting. It was about confronting their emotions, about bridging the gap left by anger and silence. He took a deep breath, feeling the knot of anxiety in his stomach loosen just a fraction. Yes, he thought, I want to see him. The day passed in a blur. Every little sound, every notification, every passing moment seemed magnified, a constant reminder of the anticipation building in his chest. He rehearsed what he would say, how he would approach the conversation, but deep down, he knew that rehearsals wouldn't matter. This was about honesty, about vulnerability, about showing Jungkook that despite the fight, he was still willing to bare his heart. By late afternoon, Taehyung found himself standing outside a small cafe they had frequented before. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries mingled with the crisp air, grounding him in a bittersweet nostalgia. He spotted Jungkook immediately, seated by the window, staring out at the world as if lost in thought. Their eyes met briefly, a flash of recognition and emotion passing between them, unspoken yet deeply understood. Taehyung's steps were tentative at first, but each one brought him closer to the moment he had been waiting for. He slid into the seat across from Jungkook, the distance between them filled with memories, tension, and a shared understanding that words alone couldn't capture. For a moment, neither spoke, letting the silence stretch, heavy but not uncomfortable. Finally, Jungkook broke the silence. "I've missed us," he said quietly, his voice barely above the hum of the cafe. "Even with everything that happened, I never stopped caring." Taehyung's throat tightened. He had imagined hearing those words countless times, but now that they were real, they hit with an intensity that made him dizzy. "I missed it too," he admitted, his voice cracking. I was angry, hurt, scared, but I never stopped thinking about you, about us." The words hung in the air, delicate and fragile, yet filled with an undeniable truth. Jungkook reached out, his hand brushing against Taehyung on the table, a simple gesture loaded with meaning. Taehyung felt a warmth spread through him, a reassurance that despite the fights, the silence, and the tears, the bond they shared was still intact. They talked for hours, each word a careful step toward understanding, toward rebuilding the trust that had been strained. They spoke of the fight, of their fears, of the insecurities that had bubbled to the surface. They spoke of laughter and joy, of memories that had once made their bond unbreakable. And in the process, they rediscovered the connection that had drawn them together in the first place, a connection that was resilient, imperfect, but profoundly real. At one point, Jungkook's voice wavered, a rare crack in his usually composed demeanor. "I was scared," he confessed. "Scared that I'd lose you, that the distance between us would become permanent." Taehyung's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of relief, of shared vulnerability. "I was scared too," he admitted. "But we're here now, and maybe that's what matters, the fact that we're willing to keep trying." The afternoon faded into evening, the cafe dimming with the setting sun. Outside, the world continued its rhythm, oblivious to the quiet reconciliation happening within those walls. Taehyung and Jungkook remained seated, hands intertwined, their conversation turning lighter, filled with shared jokes, teasing remarks, and gentle laughter that felt like a balm to their aching hearts. Eventually, Taehyung leaned back, closing his eyes for a brief moment, savoring the sense of peace that had begun to settle over him. He realized that love wasn't just about the happy moments. It was about weathering the storms together, about facing fears, about allowing oneself to be vulnerable without fear of judgment. And in that moment, with Jungkook beside him, he understood the depth of their bond more than ever. "I'm glad we talked," Jungkook said softly, his thumb gently stroking the back of Taehyung's hand. "I don't want to fight like that again, not without understanding each other first." "Me neither," Taehyung replied, his voice steady now, filled with conviction. I want us to be stronger than the fights, stronger than the misunderstandings. I want us to be us, no matter what." They shared a quiet smile, the kind that spoke volumes without the need for words. It was a smile filled with forgiveness, understanding, and a commitment to move forward together. In that shared moment, the past felt lighter, the future a little brighter, and the love they held for each other reaffirmed with a clarity that made Taehyung's chest ache in the most beautiful way. As night fell, they left the cafe together, walking side by side under the glow of streetlights. The city felt different now, not just as a backdrop, but as a witness to their reconciliation, a silent observer to the resilience of their connection. Taehyung felt the weight of the past days lift slightly with every step, replaced by a sense of hope and renewed determination. They didn't need grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Their presence with each other, their willingness to communicate, and their commitment to understanding were enough. It was in the small moments, the shared glances, the gentle touches, the quiet words, that their love found its strength. By the time they reached Taehyung's apartment, the night was deep and still. They stood at the doorway, neither wanting to part just yet. Jungkook's hand lingered on Taehyung's arm, and Taehyung felt a shiver of warmth run through him. "Good night," Jungkook whispered, his voice tender, almost vulnerable. "Good night," Taehyung replied, his heart full, his eyes glistening with tears that he no longer tried to hide. "See you tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Jungkook confirmed, a soft smile playing on his lips. And with that they parted, not with fear, not with doubt, but with a sense of understanding, of connection, and of a love that had been tested and found enduring. Taehyung watched Jungkook disappear down the street, his heart beating with gratitude and relief. He knew the journey ahead wouldn't always be easy, but tonight had proven that their bond could weather storms, bridge silences, and emerge stronger than before. Taehyung closed the door behind him, leaning against it for a moment, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The night was quiet, yet alive with possibility. He walked to his window, looking out at the city lights that twinkled like stars, and whispered into the cool night air, "We'll be okay. We really will."